Hey everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. Dad kicked me out, lied about rent, and now wants me back to stop my grandpa's financial punishment. I'm 21 and lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a daughter 15. And they had a boy 3 and just had a little girl. Anyway, I've worked since I was 16 to have money to buy stuff for myself. When I turned 18, Dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500, a symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad and we fought, but in the end I accepted, and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out. My stepmom was pregnant, and they needed my room for the baby. This is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one since she's a stay-at-home mom now. Nonetheless, they told me I had to move. Just to add, my stepmom and I get along fine. We don't fight or bicker. I don't think this was an evil stepmom moment, but who knows? My stepsister and I are actually pretty close. I help her with homework and talk about her personal problems. I love her very much. Back to the story. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to college and want to be a civil engineer while working part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt asking if I could move in with her for the time being until I figured something out. I offered to pay rent, and she was aghast at what Dad was doing. She said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was going to deal with my dad the next day. Grandpa came to our house, and they talked privately. I could hear my dad's angry voice, but couldn't understand anything being said. After a while, Grandpa came to my room and said I had 3 choices. Continue living with Dad and stepmom as I was doing. Nothing would change except I wouldn't have to pay rent. Move in with him and Grandma or my aunt. Find a place of my own, and he would pay the rent and costs for me. He said I didn't need to choose now. I could keep living with Dad, and if I changed my mind, just tell him. I was actually relieved I could still live with Dad and that this madness was over. But in the following days and weeks, Dad and stepmom were very hostile toward me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me. So I decided to move out and told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. A few weeks later, he moved me into one of his rental units. The apartment is lovely. He bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items. He gave me a check for $15,000, saying this money is to help me start living on my own, and that as long as I'm working or studying, I can live there rent-free for as long as I want. My dad and I have been pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me, and I never visited them. I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister, but I'm still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth. I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, a few days ago Dad called me saying he misses me, the children miss me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc. I told him I would think about it. Yesterday, I visited my aunt and was telling her what my dad said. My cousin laughed a little and said, "I'm sure he does." I asked what he meant, and that's when they told me a lot of until now unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's, as is my aunt's. The deal he made with me, he did with all his kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to have to worry about basic stuff like housing and food. When I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, who was furious with Dad not only for kicking me out, but also for charging me rent. That day he went to my dad's and tore him a new one, threatening to have him evicted. But now the petty part, You know that $15,000 Grandpa gave me. It's actually what I paid Dad in rent all that time, and now he's making Dad pay him back. Also, he's charging Dad $1,200 for the rent loss in the apartment I'm living in. Call me dumb or naive. We lived in a great house, always went on vacations, and lived very comfortably, but I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks Dad is struggling with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay back Grandpa. So he says Dad wants me back because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I move back in. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months, but I do really miss them. I miss my siblings and the life we had before all of this, but I don't know if moving back home is the right answer. Also, I'm hurt that the reason he wants me back is money. Update 1, just answering some questions people had. My aunt and grandpa are from my father's side of the family. My mom's side, unfortunately, I don't have much contact with. My grandparents passed away before my mom. I have uncles and aunts I see once in a while, but they don't live close. I also have 2 other uncles from my father's side. I'm close to them, but not as near. My aunt was my rock when my mom died. I consider her a second mom. My stepmom knew about the rent I was paying. It was implied that my stepsister would need to do the same when she turned 18, but I don't know if she knew Dad didn't own the house or the extent of how much Grandpa has financially helped Dad. Update 2, on Monday, the day after my post, I called Dad and said I decided not to move back. I didn't mention anything I was told, just that I was well settled here and moving back seemed like a step back. But I also said I wanted to keep in contact with them. They could invite me for dinner whenever they wanted. I also said I would love for my stepsister and brother to be able to spend time with me here at home. He was disappointed, and I didn't feel any anger in his tone at least, but he basically said we'll see and left it at that. I was also disappointed, but then Friday he called me and asked if I wanted to have lunch Sunday. I said I already had plans with Grandpa and Grandma. He asked when I would be free, so we scheduled a dinner for Thursday. I haven't told any of this to my stepsister. We talk and text regularly. She also hasn't heard them talking about me, but she did say her grandma, her mom's mom, is there to help with the baby and is being incredibly annoying. I laughed at that. I wanted to offer her a sleepover at my place, but didn't want to get her excited just for Dad to say no. So I'll try to talk with him Thursday. Big update. I've just come back from visiting Grandpa and Grandma. We spent a lovely day together, but I also said I wanted to know everything that was going on. I wasn't a kid anymore, and I felt like living in lies. The most important things were things my cousin and aunt told me last week, but there were a few more. Grandpa had been subsidizing quite often our basic needs like school, health care, etc., because Dad hadn't been saving up, according to Grandpa. Also, my college fund was mainly contributed by him and Mom before her passing. I guess that makes sense. I was also dumb to not realize this sooner. He also set up funds for my baby siblings and for my stepsister because he didn't want her to feel excluded and not have the same opportunities as her siblings. This man is incredible. I love him so much, and yes, I'm very lucky. I've seen so many people commenting not in a derogatory way, but being very supportive and nice. I know I'm very privileged to have Grandpa and family members who can afford and are willing to help me. I hope one day I can help others the way they are helping me. Anyways, I also expressed worries about Dad's financial situation, and he assured me Dad is fine, more than fine. He will have to be less frivolous with money for a while, but he would never let any of his kids or grandkids suffer or be in need for anything. As many of you said, he's trying to teach Dad a lesson I should have taught him a long time ago. So I'll stay out of it. I don't think I'll tell Dad that I know all of this. I know many of you said to confront him, but I think it's for the best if he continues thinking I'm oblivious. It keeps the peace, and I don't want to add more tension to an already complicated situation. I'll focus on my studies and my job and let my grandpa handle the rest. I've also been thinking about how I can support my siblings from a distance. I want to be there for my stepsister and brother as much as I can, even if it means just checking in regularly or planning small outings when I can. I don't want them to feel like they've lost me completely just because I've moved out. I know that while things are tough right now, they'll eventually settle down. I'm trying to remind myself that families can go through rough patches, but that doesn't mean the love isn't still there. I'm hopeful that in time my dad will realize the importance of being open and honest not just with me, but with himself and his financial decisions. I'm grateful for my grandpa's support and the stability he's provided. It's given me the space to grow, and I want to make him proud. Here's to new beginnings and navigating this new chapter of my life, one step at a time. I've also been thinking about how I can integrate my siblings into my new life. I want to invite them over more often, maybe for movie nights or just to hang out. I believe maintaining that bond is essential, especially since they're going through so much change too. This week, I'm planning to take my little brother to the park. I want him to know he can always count on me no matter where I live. I'm hoping my stepsister can join us too. I miss those moments of just being a family laughing and playing together without the underlying tension. I've realized that while I can't control how my dad or stepmom handle their issues, I can control how I respond. Focusing on the positives, my studies, my friendships, and the love I have for my siblings helps me feel more grounded. Ultimately, I want to be a source of support for them, a reminder that family isn't just about living under the same roof. It's about being there for each other no matter the distance. I'm determined to navigate this path with grace and hope for better days ahead. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.